Hello students. Previously, we have learned about the proportion of a water vapor in the air. How to measure this proportion of a water vapor in the air? Generally, humidity is measured in grams per cubic meter. And how to express this proportion of a water vapor in the air? There are different ways. We have learned about absolute humidity and relative humidity. What is absolute humidity? The amount of water vapor in 1 cubic meter or the actual amount of water vapor in the air at a certain temperature and at a certain volume of the air is absolute humidity. When the air is fulfilled by water vapor at a given temperature and at a given volume of the air, it is said saturated air. And when the amount of water vapor in the air is below than its holding capacity, it is said relative humidity. And how to express this relative humidity? Relative humidity can be expressed in percentage. Relative humidity is the ratio between absolute humidity and water vapor holding capacity at a given temperature, and this ratio multiplied by 100, we will get percentage of the water vapor present in the air. This is called relative humidity. Today we are going to learn how does humidity affects water cycle. We are going to carry out two activities. Let us try these activities. Let us see. And now we are going to carry out one activity for concluding when the water vapor in the air comes into the contact of a cool surface, what will happen? At first, take a pressure cooker. Look at this pressure cooker. Take off the whistle of the pressure cooker. I have removed whistle of this pressure cooker, and now fill some water inside the pressure cooker. Keep this lid on the pressure cooker, and now lit the gas for heating the water inside this pressure cooker. Now I am going to lit the gas for heating the water inside the pressure cooker. Look at here. The steam is coming out from this pressure cooker after heating the water inside this pressure cooker. Steam is coming out in a gaseous state. Before heating the water, it was in the liquid state, and after heating, the water inside this pressure cooker converted into a gaseous state in the form of steam or water vapor. Now let us see when this water vapor comes in the contact of a cool surface, what will happen. For that, take a lid with handle. Look at this lid with handle. And now hold the lid at a distance from where the steam is coming out. Look at this lid. It has a cool surface. Now we have to hold this lid at a distance from where the steam is coming out. When the steam coming out from the pressure cooker comes in the contact of a cool surface, we will see what will happen. You can see the surface of this lid when with the steam or water vapor touches to the cooler lid, this water vapor turns into liquid water droplets. You can see the water droplets deposited on the lid. See these water droplets on the surface of the lid, and this is the process of condensation. Students, by this pressure cooker and lid which has a cool surface activity, we have concluded that the steam or water vapor from the pressure cooker comes in the contact with cool surface. This water vapor turns into water droplets. This means condensation takes place. Similarly, when the water vapor in the air comes in the contact with cold air, condensation takes place in the atmosphere. Hello students, today we are going to carry out one activity to understand the process of condensation. Take a glass with a flat bottom. Look at this glass, it has a flat bottom, and put some ice cubes in the glass. Look at here, I have filled some ice cubes in this glass. And now keep this glass in a room for 2-3 minutes. We will see what will happen. And now let us see what happened after 2-3 minutes. You can see droplets form on the outer surface of the glass. Look at this. When you set a glass filled with ice cubes on the table on a hot day, it will get wet on the outside. Just now we have observed that droplets of water form on the outer surface of this glass. From where this water comes on this outer surface of the glass? It certainly is not coming from inside the glass. The water vapor or humidity in the air is coming in contact with the glass and being cooled to its dew point, causing the water droplets to condense from a water vapor or gas to water droplets in liquid form. This is a process of condensation. Students, in the first activity, the steam from the cooker cooled and condensed into water droplets. And in the second activity, the vapor in the air condensed into water droplets. Thus, we have noted that the process of changing of water vapor in the air into water is called condensation or densification. Now, let us see the prerequisites for condensation. What are the prerequisites for condensation? The process of changing of water vapor in the air into water is called condensation or densification. And also the process of water vapor or gas changing into solid state is called sublimation. If
the temperature of the air reduces, its vapor holding capacity also reduces. When relative humidity of the air becomes 100%, vapor starts to condensing. Dew, frost, and fog are the forms of condensation at ground level, while clouds are a form of condensation at a higher elevation.
Condensation occurs around minute particles in the atmosphere. Condensed water or snow particles in the clouds are very fine and almost whiteless, and so clouds float in the air. You can see the size of a fine particle. What are fine particles? Dust, salt, etc. Look at this size of a fine particle, and after condensation, size of a water particle in the cloud. Diameter of this condensed water particle or raindrop is around 5 millimeter.
And now let us see how does clouds forms in the atmosphere. Land and water get heated because of the heat of the sun. Land and water get heated because of the heat of the sun. Air near the surface heats up, rises and becomes less dense. Hot air rises up as it goes higher. The temperature of the air reduces and the moisture holding capacity of the air reduces. Relative humidity keeps increasing. The water vapor in the atmosphere turns into water and snow. This is the dew point level of that air. The level of condensation is determined by the water vapor in the air. Keep in mind that the freezing point is also dependent on the altitude and water vapor. Because of condensation, fine particles of ice and water float in the air at a greater height. They accumulate around dust particles in the air and become larger in size. Their accumulation together is called a cloud. Because of a vertical flow of the wind, they float in the atmosphere like a kite which floats in the air. As it moves higher and higher, the clouds too float in the atmosphere because of vertical flow of the air.
Clouds are found at different altitudes above mean sea level. Clouds which form at greater altitudes are formed from very fine snow particles. The process of evaporation and condensation occur consecutively in the clouds. Specific type of clouds cause rainfall on the earth. The proportion of water vapor is more near the earth's surface. As we go higher away from the sea level, the amount of water vapor decreases. We have learned about it. Hence, the clouds at a lower altitude are larger in size, while the clouds at higher altitude are smaller. Look at these cloud types according to international classification. Types of clouds: general altitude emitters, cirrus, cirrostratus, cirrocumulus. These types of clouds can be found at an altitude of 7,000 to 14,000 meters. Altostratus, altocumulus. These types of clouds can be found at an altitude of 2,000 to 7,000 meters. Stratocumulus, stratus, nimbostratus. These types of clouds can be found at less than 2,000 meters an altitude. Cumulus, cumulonimbus. The extent of such a type of clouds could be variable. Clouds are formed at different altitudes in the atmosphere. After observation, we can divide these clouds into three main types on the basis of their altitude. The height from the base of the clouds is taken into consideration. If the clouds are at an altitude of 7,000 meters to 14,000 meters, then they are considered as a very high clouds. If they are at an altitude of around 2,000 meters to 7,000 meters, then they are considered to be medium clouds. If they are at an altitude of less than 2,000 meters, then they are low clouds. First, we will see high clouds. These clouds are mainly made up of ice particles. They can be classified into cirrus, cirrocumulus, and cirrostratus. Cirrus clouds are mainly wispy. Cirrocumulus clouds look like groups of small waves, and cirrostratus are like a bedsheet with winglets. They generally have a halo around them. Medium clouds. These include altocumulus and altostratus. Altocumulus are in the form of layers and have a wave-like structure. They are mostly white in color and have a grey shade. Altostratus are very thick. The sun can be seen through them as if seen through a milky glass. Low clouds. These consist of 5 types of clouds: stratocumulus, stratus, nimbostratus. The extent of cumulus and cumulonimbus could be variable. Stratocumulus have layers. Their color is white to earthy. Round clusters of clouds can be here. Stratus clouds also have layers. They are ash colored and their base is uniform. Nimbostratus has a thick layers. Nimbostratus has a thick layers. They are grey ash in color and cause continuous rainfall and even snowfall. Cumulus clouds. These clouds are formed extensively from 500 meters to 6,000 meters an altitude. The vertical flow of the air adds to formation of these clouds. These are huge and dome-shaped. They are grey in color. Cumulus clouds are an indicator of a pleasant weather. The vertical expanse of these clouds increases so much that they turn into cumulonimbus clouds and bring rain. Look at these cumulonimbus clouds. These clouds are characteristic clouds which are indicators of a thunderstorm. These look like huge mountains. These are dense and dark in color. There is a thunder accompanied by lightning. You can see in this figure, there is a thunder accompanied by lightning. They bring rain with storm and may sometime bring hailstones. But such a type of rain does not last long. The largest of these clouds bring rainfall accompanied by lightning. The top portion of these clouds has an anvil-like shape. The clouds have a positive charge at the upper end and negative charge at the lower end. The land below them always has positive charge. Due to difference in the charge, positive charge, negative charge, again positive charge, electric charges are formed and lightning occurs, lighting up the sky for a moment. The air around the lightning rises up because of the heat, and this leads to a large thundering sound. As compared to other clouds, the raindrops of these clouds are larger because they move up and down a lot of times and accumulate more and more water. Drops become larger and larger and are unable to float in the clouds because of their weight. They fall in the form of rain. Sometimes the air in the clouds is very cold. As a result, these drops freeze and fall in the form of hail. We call them hailstones.